But wait.
It's all in that video.
It totally has to be him.
Well, did we get new evidence, or...?
Yeah, this was updated to found on Marshall's own locker. Too bad it wasn't me in that video, but something was stuffed in that locker at the end of the video.
Yeah.
Which means it had to have been him! Ah, we presented the wrong evidence. Damn it. It's either the video or the bloody fingerprints. So let's try the video. Ah! So it's gotta be the fingerprints?
Didn't you do the fingerprints first?
No, I did the locker first. Hold on, let's press this. What do you mean by that?
You want me to tie this... Yeah, you want to tie me to this crime, right? Isn't that right, partner? If so, then that video is the only direct evidence you have.
But that video is next to useless. It's full of blind spots.
Blind spots?
Places you can't see. The camera's panning back and forth, the floor isn't shown. If someone was familiar with the camera's position, they could leave the room without being caught on tape. We don't have time for your speculations, Mr. Wright.
Well, Mr. Wright, if you can show us evidence in this video that indicates Officer Marshall was president, please do so now.
Yes, we can. Very well.
We didn't actually have to show the evidence.
Allow me to point out your mistake, Officer Marshall.
But now we're actually showing the evidence.
Yeah. Tread carefully, Mr. Wright, or you might wind up being the one making the mistake.
Now then, let's have another look at the video. Show us this incriminating evidence of the witness, Officer. Alright, fast forward this shit.
Dun 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 dun. Right there. Bringing our attention back to the security camera is a mistake I'm afraid you'll soon not forget, Officer Marshall.
The days are short in Texas, and so are our tempers. Could you sum up what you have to say in 8 words or less?
Very well. You can clearly be seen in this video.
Exactly 8 words. Not bad, partner.
The key lies in a certain locker shown in the video.
That locker with the white cloth sticking out. That was a witness's, I believe.
Now then, let's rewind the video a bit. Oh god, it's creepier in reverse.
Oh, the white cloth, it's gone. What's the meaning of this, Officer Marshall?
When the crime took place, the white cloth wasn't there. Then, it suddenly appeared. There's only one explanation. Officer Marshall, you were in the evidence room at the time of the crime. What's more, you opened your locker when the camera was turned away.
Order. It would seem that's the only...
Hold your horses. Sorry, partner, but you got the wrong man. So what if my locker was open? That doesn't mean I'm the one who opened it. Murderer needed to hide something, so he opened the locker and stuck it in. It's not my fault he happened to. Why is everyone staring at me like I'm a wanted man?
This guy isn't just playing dumb. He really doesn't know. I hate to rain on your parade, but you're the only person who can open that particular locker.
Oh yeah? I call your bluff. You say I open that locker, now prove it. Okay.
Sure.
Fingerprint sensor?
We talked about this earlier today. The lockers can only be opened by the detectives they belong to.
What kind of crazy talk is this?
Well, Detective Gumshoe did mention something about this. Yeah, nobody knows. Some people don't know. So, Sheriff, what do you have to say in 8 words or less?
I only got one word for you, partner. No! What?
No!
What was that, like, animation?
Yeah.
It was there
like he was being
frame.
shot.
Order. Oh, wait, that's not right.
Order. Witness, explain yourself.
If this is a joke, it's the worst I've ever heard.
I assure you this is no joke, Officer Marshall. Now then, please tell us what you were doing in the evidence room at the time of the crime.
Olay, please answer the question.
What is he now, a bullfighter? That's alright, Officer Marshall. I believe we can figure out the rest from here.
We can?
Have a look at these floor plans. There's no place for someone to hide in the evidence room. Yet Officer Meekins didn't see Officer Marshall.
If that's so, then where was the witness?
It seems Mr. Wright has an answer. That's right. The only possible conclusion.
Well then, let's hear it. Where was Officer Marshall at the time of the crime?
Where was he? V is V is Goodman, K is Meekins. There's only one place that Marshall could have been.
V, right?
Officer Marshall was standing right here.
Yeah, but that's where the victim, Detective Goodman, was.
Correct. Unless the man wasn't Detective Goodman. I believe the victim in the video is Officer Marshall. It was you, dressed up like Detective Goodman. But that's preposterous. Officer Meekins witnessed the detective at the crime scene. Once he saw the man's face, he'd know for sure. May I point out, though, that Officer Meekins did not know Detective Goodman. He also testified about the man's reaction when confronted.
Is this old?
Yeah, but instead of showing the card, he suddenly pulled a knife. Something about the officer's story puzzled me. If the man had had his ID card, why didn't he just show it?
Yes, he would have needed it to enter the evidence room. So he must have been carrying it.
The answer is simple. He couldn't show it. As you can see, Detective Goodman's picture is on his ID card.
Oh, I get it.
If he showed that, his cover would have been blown. Officer Meekins would have realized the man wasn't Detective Goodman. Do you have anything to say to this, Officer Marshall?
You've got quite an imagination, partner. We got a term for that. It's called circumstantial evidence.
Circumstantial evidence? He's still denying it.
You're gonna have to do better than that to break detective. Unless you have hard evidence proving I dressed up as the victim.
I can't say I particularly care for your uncooperative disposition.
I can't say I care for your beard, but you don't see me.
Well, Mr. Wright, do you have any evidence proving, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that Officer Marshall dressed up as the victim?
Well, who am I kidding? I don't have anything like that.
I can see the fear in your eyes, partner. Seems you're the one who couldn't take the dessert heat. Desert heat.
The dessert heat. Mmm, delicious. Ugh, this can't be happening. It's so obvious he's the one. What can I do? It looks like your lack of experience has finally been exposed. I'll pass on to you what someone told me when I was just starting out. When you've run into a wall with no place to go, return to the basics. The basics? For me, that would be what Mia used to tell me. Think outside the box. I shouldn't look for proof that Officer Marshall was in disguise, but rather I should look for evidence that came about because he was in disguise. Why do you think this locker was opened in the first place?
What do you mean?
There's no reason for Officer Marshall to open his locker at the time of the crime. Yet he did, despite the chance it might be discovered later, as it has been. Which means he didn't originally plan to open his locker.
According to the defense's argument, Officer Jake Marshall dressed as Detective Goodman at the time of the crime. And then, after the crime was committed, he opened his own locker for some unknown reason.
The fact that a white cloth is sticking out of the locker seems to indicate that he opened it in order to put the cloth inside.
So, just what exactly is this piece of cloth?
Perhaps the video is the key to our unanswered questions. I don't have any evidence, so this video is my only shot.
Very well, let's take yet another look at the security tape. After committing the crime, the witness opened the locker and put away the white cloth. Please show us why the witness had to open his locker.
This one should be pretty easy.
Did he have blood on him? He did.
Sure did. For some reason, you disguised yourself as Detective Goodman and entered the evidence room, though I don't know to what end yet.
Yet?
However, something unexpected happened. Officer Meekins barged in on you. When asked to show your ID card, you pulled a knife on him. However, Officer Meekins panicked, and the white coat you were wearing was soiled with blood.
A bloody white coat?
You couldn't just walk out like that, so you hid the coat in your locker.
Not bad, partner.
Now then, Officer Marshall, are you ready to tell us the truth?
Looks like I underestimated you. I hope you're happy now, Mr. Edgeworth. 2 years ago, if you were only half as persistent as you are today, then we all wouldn't have to be here now, would we?
Officer Marshall, tell the court what you did. All of it.
Alright. It seems the time has come.
Oh, the music's different.
Yep, because we're now in the... This is Pursuit Cornered, I believe is the song. No, but this is the high intensity because you're close to breaking the witness.
I had to do it that day. I couldn't just stand by and let it die. I stole the detective's ID and dressed like you were planning to take out the evidence. I wasn't expecting Officer Meekins. I knocked him out and managed to escape. I knew which areas wouldn't be caught on the camera. There wasn't any murder in the evidence room.
So the supposed victim was really you.
But there's one thing I still don't understand. Traces of a large quantity of blood were found on the floor of the evidence room. If no one was murdered, then how could that be?
Officer Meekins managed to cut his own hand. My guess is he's the donor.
It was way too much blood for such a small donation. Alright, there's still a hole in this testimony. We gotta find it. When you say it, you mean...
Do you even have to...
Yeah, right there?
Yeah, hang on. Do you even have to ask, partner?
The SL9 incident. 2 years have passed since that case was closed. It was going to completely end with the transferal that day.
Not if I have anything to do with it. That incident's not over.
But what did you hope to accomplish by sneaking into the evidence room?
When a case is closed, only the case's lead detective can look through the evidence. I wanted to have a look at it myself one more time. No matter what the cost. I don't care what anyone says, partner. That case is mine.
But Officer Marshall wasn't in charge of that investigation. Why does he care so much about it?
That day was my last chance, that's why.
Why did you disguise yourself as Detective Goodman?
I didn't make it look like Goodman was carrying out the evidence transfer. I'd be arrested for stealing evidence, which wouldn't get me anywhere.
And so you did it to fool the security camera.
And the detective's ID card.
I stole that the morning of the incident.
So that really was why Goodman started filling out the lost item report.
I returned his ID card. I left it on the floor of the prosecutor's office parking lot.
Where we found it. The ID card I found was left there by Officer Marshall. So essentially, you managed to succeed despite your lack of foresight.
What do you mean, partner?
I mean the fingerprint-activated lock, of course. No matter how well you disguise yourself, you can't change your fingerprints. Under normal circumstances, you wouldn't have been able to open that locker yourself. But he could because the rubber glove just happened to get stuck in the door. That means Detective Goodman must have opened the locker before Officer Marshall. You pulled a knife on Officer Meekins and tried to drive him off?
Let's just say I was a little surprised. I only planned on being in the evidence room for no more than 5 minutes. I didn't think anyone would actually come in during that short time.
Officer Meekins certainly is a 1 in a million type of person. Mistaking a detective for an intruder and demanding to be shown his ID.
I'll have to think a little more about his raise this year. When did Edgeworth get so much influence?
Anyway, he threw himself at me and ended up cutting him slightly. I'm sorry it had to turn out that way. Me knocking him out and everything.
By the way, what happened to your knife?
Oh, you mean this one?
I don't know what to say.
So you knocked Officer Meekins out and managed to escape.
So you did your research beforehand?
Those who go into the desert unprepared don't live long, partner. I didn't think it would make a difference though. The security tape is erased every 6 hours. If all had gone as planned, no footage would have been.
However, you bloodied your coat in your struggle with Officer Meekins.
Someone was in the security room when I came out, the jig would have been up. I opened my locker and stashed it.
What was Officer Meekins doing during that time?
What else? He was sleeping like a baby.
So what you're saying is on that day, there wasn't any murder in the evidence room in fact.
But the blood found at the scene certainly indicates a crime took place.
What are you, blind? The victim shown on that tape is me. I'm not dead yet, partner.
So you stole the evidence from the locker.
Actually, no, I didn't.
Why not?
When I opened the locker, the evidence was already gone.
What? Mr. Edgeworth, where is that evidence?
It's still missing, Your Honor. Detective Goodman's locker was already empty? Someone else stole the evidence. Officer Marshall, may I ask you one thing?
Fire away, partner. It's a free country. Now it's free. Just remember, I'm also free to decide whether or not to answer.
Why did you do this? Stealing a detective's ID, injuring a police officer? This is no small offense. Moreover, you're an officer yourself. This will have serious consequences. Can't just be forgiven with a simple cut in salary. Not that salary cuts are ever a valid solution.
Like I said, this isn't your case. This one is mine. I'll do anything it takes to get an answer I'm satisfied with.
This is an unusual amount of zeal. Let's see what